All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to be mapping what you could call the big data gold rush. You know that term you hear absolutely everywhere? Well, we're going to look at a study that charts who's actually building the science behind it.
I mean, it's a statement that feels almost like a cliche at this point, doesn't it? But seriously, think about it. Every single second, unbelievable amounts of data are being created, and it's fundamentally changing, well, pretty much everything.
So to get a real grip on this revolution, some researchers did something pretty clever. They analyzed, get this, over 32,000 scientific papers. Yeah, 32,085 of them, published over nearly 3 decades. They essentially used data about data to map out this entire sprawling field of research.
And that gets us to the core question, right? Who is actually building the science behind this massive buzzword? Where is it all happening? Who are the key players, and what exactly are they focused on? This study, well, it's our treasure map.
Okay, so first things first. Before we dive into the deep end, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. What are we really talking about when we say big data? At its heart, it really just comes down to 2 things: scale and complexity. We're talking about data sets that are just insanely huge. So big that your typical tools, like a spreadsheet, they don't stand a chance. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. You need completely new tools and new ways of thinking just to begin to make sense of it.
And the researchers who did this work, they put it perfectly. Their goal was to chart the rise of this research. So think of this whole analysis as a super high-resolution satellite map of a newly discovered continent. It shows us the pioneers, the settlements, and all the new highways of this intellectual territory.
And what did that map reveal? Well, let me tell you, this field didn't just grow. No, it was more like a research big bang. It just exploded. Just look at this graph. For years, big data was kind of this quiet, niche topic humming along in the background. And then, bam, right around 2012, things just take off. The line goes almost vertical. It's that classic hockey stick curve you always hear about, and it signals a massive, sudden acceleration of interest and, let's be real, money pouring into the field. And to put a number on that explosion, get this. At its peak in 2020, researchers were publishing over 6,800 papers on big data in a single year. That is a staggering rate of knowledge creation.
So with that much activity going on, the next question is pretty obvious. Where is all this work happening? Let's take a look at the global players in this race.
The data is crystal clear on this one. It's a 2-horse race. You've got the United States and China, and they are neck and neck, producing a colossal amount of research that just dwarfs what every other country is doing. The UK comes in at a strong 3rd, but the sheer output from the top 2 is in a whole other league.
And if we zoom in from the national level down to the actual institutions, you see the specific powerhouses driving all this. The Chinese Academy of Science is leading the pack, followed by major academic players in both China and the US, like Tsinghua and Stanford. These are the literal epicenters of innovation.
But here's what's really fascinating. It's not just a competition. Far from it. This is also a story of massive global collaboration. Look at this web of partnerships. The single strongest link in the entire network is between the 2 biggest players, the US and China. They've co-authored over 1,800 papers together. That's pretty amazing.
All right, so we know the who and the where. Now let's get into the what. What are all these brilliant minds actually studying? What are the hot topics that are lighting up the field? So this here is a keyword map, and it's kind of like looking at a constellation of ideas. That huge bubble right in the center, that's big data. All the other bubbles are related fields. Their size tells you how popular they are, and how close they are to each other tells you how tightly linked they are. It's a fantastic visual map of the entire research conversation. And when you distill that map down, a few core hotspots really emerge. Of course, you've got the technical powerhouses, machine learning, that's the brain that finds the patterns, and cloud computing, the global infrastructure that stores it all. But what I find really telling is that privacy is also a major hotspot. It shows researchers aren't just focused on the how, they're deeply engaged with the critical, tough questions about what all this means for us.
Okay, so we have a map of the who, the where, and the what. But so what? Why is having this kind of map actually important?
Well, it matters because a map like this is a strategic tool for understanding the future. It reveals where the next technological breakthroughs are likely to come from. It shows us which ideas are getting the most funding and attention, and it shows how the global network of innovators is wired. Honestly, it's kind of like a cheat sheet for navigating a world that's being rebuilt by data.
This study gives us an incredible snapshot of the big data explosion up to now. It charts the origins, the key players, but as we look at this map of the past, the real question it leaves us with is about the future. Given this foundation, what new territories will be discovered in the next decade of data?